Going to Waffle House. Dang, yeah. This place. Off-road 1, and then 2, take that stuff off, put it down to the ground, and drift it. Well, I don't know what you dreamed up here, Scott, but it looks amazing. Day 2 on the Way of the South S14. We got all the suspension stuff in yesterday, so all the ISR performance stuff, Fortunato coilovers, but we also have these subframe bushings that we need to put in, because if you've ever owned an S chassis, you know that the factory ones are garbage, and you can see that we've already been trying to keep these together with like liquid nails or something. So as if the process wasn't hard enough, that being glued in might affect my performance. I think that I can get this done in an hour every time, and it usually takes 3 or 4 hours because we don't have a shop press. We can't burn anything out in the garage, so gonna have to go through a process, get this stuff out, put that back in, then I can attack the brake lines that we got. Also ISR performance, those will snap right in, not worried about that. And we'll get this on the ground. I really want to see it on the ground because we can pull these wheels off, slam the Fortunato coilovers, and put the SSR wheels on. I want to see what it looks like in street drift form as opposed to the off-road format we have right now, because this is meant to be a multi-purpose car. Off-road 1, and then 2, take that stuff off, put it down to the ground, and drift it. So we are gonna get started. I'm just gonna jump right in. I got a lot to do today, and I have to get this motor in tomorrow if I'm gonna be any sort of productive with the last 2 days I have here. So I'm gonna get right on it. This thing's thrashed, but yes, I think that's liquid nails or something that they tried to stiffen up these before they got the ISR mounts. So gonna try and knock these puppies out and then put in the new ISR performance ones. So this could be quite a long process. Gonna get started. Actually, I'm gonna assess what tools we have to work on this first, get it laid out, get this thing on the ground, and start beating the crap out of it. Just as much of a bitch as I remember it being. So they're in there now. That was a battle. No more liquid nails. Now we got solid bushings. We got solid diff bushings to throw into. And Scott is gonna put in the factory brake cables because he's got a couple cars that don't have them with no parking brake, and it sucks. Not like Phaser though. Phaser's got it. That thing rips. He's working on some other stuff with the brakes, and I'm gonna continue onto this and then throw in the rear end. Be done with that. Suspension will be all good to go, and we will have the motor stuff tomorrow. This is pretty much it. The subframe's in, all the suspension's on, all the ISR performance arms, Fortunato coils. We got the new subframe bushings in. New hardware for everything. Looks good. Not too bad of timing. So the suspension's done. Tomorrow we'll move on to the motor stuff. I'm gonna try and modify that pan so we can get the motor dropped in, put some parts on it, see what we're missing, see if the trans fits, if we have to modify anything. Moving right along. What, 2 days left? 3 days. 3 days. 3 days.
Oh,
yeah.
man, there's plenty of time.
We got plenty of time. We're a day ahead of schedule. No, we're not. I would like to have that motor in place tomorrow. The pan might be kind of a bit, but we'll see. If it gets in there tomorrow, then we'll just assemble some of the motor stuff, and we'll be on a good schedule. Another cold morning here in Mississippi, but we got all the suspension stuff dialed last night. So today, working on the motor. So I'm gonna have to pull off these big guys, flip it over, and then pull this pan off because we have the McKinney pan that still needs to be modified. So first thing for me is to get that modified, get it done. It's got to be a really nice seal. We don't have the proper welder over here, so we're gonna go next door and borrow the neighbor's welder. He's a really cool guy. He's got a nice Miller Dynasty over there, which I'm pumped to use. I'm gonna get this thing flipped over, cleaned up, make sure that pan fits, clean up the pan very well before I get over there and take everything up, make it sit nice, because I want to get this sitting in here by the end of the day. I think it's going to be a real tight fit, so we want to make sure that that works. We can get the trans on, make sure that that clears the tunnel. If it doesn't, we might have to modify that a little bit, but I think it'll be fine. I'm going to get right to it, jump in, get this motor ready to go. Pulled the pan off. You can see that this is the rear sump pickup. That's going to be replaced. We have a front sump pickup. So in place of that, this will now be in the front. So relocating this. Some old stuff, seen better days, but it will work. So you can see the difference in the two pans. And this will be now front sump. This is the rear sump. Offset like that. Now this has to be cut and modified to fit. And this is wrong. And the taper, I don't know yet until I actually get it on here, but it looks like this spot is a bit different on that pan, so that's what I'll have to modify. Don't know what happened here, but somebody welded this pickup on, so I'm gonna have to cover this up and then cut that weld, pull that out, clean this stuff up before I can fit the pan and see what I have to do. So a couple added steps, but not a big deal. So we'll get that pickup off and then see what I have to do. If I have to get another pan, who knows, but I'm thinking I might cut it back further and straighter. I don't like how that cut was to begin with, so I'm going to cut that back a little bit further, match up some of the old pan to it. If I have to add metal, I will. I just want to make it look a lot cleaner, so I'm going to get right to the cutting that shit apart. What I'll do is I'll get this shaped up and see how well I can get it to fit, and if I feel like it sucks, then I'll cut that in half.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Works for me, man.
Because that needs to be cut up. Okay. Modification time. That's not bad. Can work with that. Needs a little bit. It looks like a pretty big gap, but it's not that bad. That can be massaged in. Just a little bit of filler. This side will need a bit more. That's a gap. I'm gonna massage this just a little bit more. Just whittle it down, get it to fit pretty tight. And then what I want to do is put some tack welds on it so I can be able to move it, manipulate it. Just those little bit of gaps. But really, I'm not gonna have to add any metal. I could just pretty much weld that gap. It's not too bad. And like Scott said, we got quite a bit of tolerance because we're gonna have big cork gasket. I'm not used to having this much tolerance. That's why I was thinking to remake that whole section to make it really nice and tidy. But I'm used to working on the JDM cars that have a little bit tighter clearances, and that could be a problem. So this is an old Chevy 350. You just shove cork in that thing, it's gonna be fine. So modify this a little bit, and then my next thing will be making a plate for here to make that a sealing surface, and then grinding that flush. So it shouldn't be too bad. Clean this up a little bit, and I'm gonna head next door and start welding. I got the pan cleaned up, both pieces cleaned up, fairly well fit up. That is something I can definitely work with. And I cleaned this mating surface as well. So everything's cleaned up. Now I have to get that bolted on nicely. Since it was cut, it kind of has to be stretched out a little bit. So I'm gonna put that on, bolt everything in place. There will be a little bit of a gap. I'm gonna tack some stuff up, let it cool, and then I'm gonna have to like bang it around a little bit, manipulate it, weld it as it goes. And it should just be kind of a process of working its way around, and then I'll be able to pull it off, weld it entirely, and then bolt it back up. Hopefully, I'm gonna try and weld as much as I can when it's on the motor itself, because I don't want it to warp. I want it to be bolted. I don't want it to like contract and then not fit. So yeah, I'm gonna bolt this up real nice, and then I'm gonna go over next door and talk to Brian, use his badass welder because Scott doesn't have one, and we should be ready to throw this in by the end of the day, I'm hoping. So all's going well. So I got the pan mocked up, everything's ready to go, but we're gonna weld it tomorrow because we got a late start and the other guys went home. I don't want to intrude on their shop, being the first time that I've met them. I'll get all the motor stuff ready for when the pan is done, we can assemble it and just throw it together tomorrow, throw it in the car. Well, probably throw it in the car and then throw all the stuff on because it's really nice parts from Holly.
Never seen a hat like this either, man.
You look sick. Going to Waffle House. Ah, yes. If you're on the West Coast, you don't get this stuff. It's terrible, but it's also really good. Waffle House. Sweet victory. All right, man. I'm gonna race to the bathroom when we get to the shop. All right, well, it was like in the teens, maybe 20 degrees this morning. We went to Waffle House. We're full of grease, but ready to work on the car now. So first things first, gonna get that pan situated. So go over, weld that thing up. I'm gonna try and do it quick, but make sure everything's good. I don't want any leaks, and I don't want it to warp. So take my time, do it nice, and then the rest of it should snap together. We organized all the parts yesterday, so it should be fairly easy to put together. We got all these goodies organized on the shelf and in a pretty good order, so it should be fairly simple to throw together when we do the mock-up. First thing is to weld the pan. Second, we're gonna stab the trans on, and then we'll try and drop it in and see if it fits. If it has a problem with the firewall, I wanna know, because I wanna modify this before I leave, and I'll probably clean up some of these holes today too. So all these holes are gonna be unnecessary, except for, you know, steering. But this stuff, it's only gonna have maybe 7 wires or something, so we don't really need all of those holes in the firewall. Pick one that's necessary, and then I'll patch up the rest so we can respray it. We got a cage kit on the way from Rob. So Rob Cage Kits got us a S14 roll cage. Instead of me building one, I'm gonna have Rob do everything, which is phenomenal, and all I have to do is weld it in. So we'll see that probably next time, but today, get that motor done. This is Brian from Tomlinson. He's the one letting us borrow this awesome welder. Like I use Miller welder. Like that's what I always use. So this is his very nice facility, and he's letting us do it. And this is Duke. Duke is as big as I am. He's taller than me if he stands up. He's a big old cow. Well, I appreciate it, Brian. We'll get to work. So made it over to Tomlinson. Literally just right next door to Grip Royal. And Brian's nice enough to let me use this awesome machine, Miller Dynasty. I have the Multimatic 220 at home, so I love that thing, but this is a really good machine. I'm gonna get set up, start welding this thing, try and get out of their hair. I don't wanna be here all day. You know, they're nice enough to let me be in here and use a very nice machine, so I'm going to go ahead and tack this. I'm gonna jump right on tacks. I'm gonna tack it all up really nice, make sure nothing moves, and then I'm gonna have to probably beat this stuff into submission a little bit and work my way around. So I'm gonna put some big heavy tacks in, make sure it doesn't move. Don't want it to move and warp, don't wanna rush it, don't wanna weld a huge seam and have this pan pull up and pull apart and then have a huge oil leak. Because we don't have another one of these, I only got one shot. turns out I still know how to weld, so that's good. And it's all welded up. This is just an outside layer. Kind of hard to get to. Some different surfaces, but it's turned out. So I'm gonna let this cool all the way down. Then I'm gonna pull it off, weld the inside. Right now, this is all really hot. Bolted down so it won't warp. So I'm gonna let it cool all the way down. Like, it's cold outside, so it will work out that I can probably come back to it pretty quick. I'll unbolt everything, and then I'll weld the inside, and then I'll probably do one more pass on the outside with it bolted to make sure that everything is good and there's no leaks. I don't want any air pockets. It was kind of a difficult spot for me to get to, so it didn't work out as good as I would normally have it on a table, but this is pretty good welding conditions, and that thing just rips. I'm so happy to use a Miller Dynasty. I don't have one of those, and I really appreciate using it. All right, so pulled the pan off. Everything seems straight, nothing bound or felt any kind of weird, so I feel like it's nice and flat and good. And looking at the inside here is like, I got full penetration. It looks like it, and I knew it would, but I'm gonna weld the inside as well because I wanna make sure there's no leaks. I wanna smooth everything out. So I'm gonna weld the inside, give it a nice pass. I can get to it better on this table here, so I can make a good clean weld and also see if there's any holes, any pen holes. We don't want that. I feel like it's fairly sealed already, but good to double check and make sure that everything is perfect so we don't have to go through this process of pulling the pan off, and if it's covered in oil, it's gonna be a real big pain in the ass to do it again. And I'll make sure everything's clean on the inside, bolt it back up, and I might do one more pass on the outside just to clean it up, make it look nice. And that'll be it. But other than that, I have to make something here to block this off because the pan is flip-flopped. This is for the dipstick, but the dipstick is now on the other side. This is in the wrong location. I'm gonna have to make something to fill that in so it doesn't leak, and that's all for the pan, and then we can just go ahead and drop this thing in. All right, well, welded up. Not my best welds, but something up with this material that I don't like. Kind of wants to throw in some contaminants, so I had to go over it a couple times, make sure it's good. There's a full seal, like no air bubbles, nothing like that. I think we're done. All I gotta do now is make this, weld that up, and then I'll probably grind this down a little bit, make sure that's good. Maybe throw a little weld over this one still because I want it to be really strong. But worked out good. I'm gonna start making that piece and then get out of these guys' hair. Man, it's really nice to use a nice machine. That's it. I'm gonna slap this pan on and get back over to the other side. So thank you, Brian Tomlinson Machine. It's nice to work in a nice shop with really nice tools. Well, we got the motor back over here. Everything's modified. Now what I'm gonna do is clean it up. And this thing's been sitting for a long time. It's got a bunch of rust and stuff in it. So I'm gonna get that cleaned up, blow everything out, put a little oil in it, and make sure that there's no debris in it from any of the fab stuff we did, or just it's sitting there forever. So clean that up, put it on. We got a new gasket for it and new seals. Install that, get it flipped over, get it off the stand, and then we'll stab the trans on and stab it in. Feeling pretty good today, but we're gonna head over to SlammedEnuff here in like an hour. So I have just a little bit to do on this, and hopefully I get this done and installed before we head over and see Charlene at SlammedEnuff, which is right down the street, and I'm pretty stoked to see their shop. Well, the pan's painted. Looks way better than that piece of crap we started with, and we're warming up all the cars to go cruise over to SlammedEnuff. So I'm driving Phaser, Scott's driving his Vet, and Mike is driving Hot Ice. Should be a cool little cruise. down the road. That's all you have to do. And in this time of my life, that's all I need. Dang. This place.
I mean, if you know how it looks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's like only the people that know how this place looked before will realize how drastic
This place is rad, man. SlammedEnuff has been around for quite a while. If you haven't followed them, follow them on Instagram. They got a bunch of cool stuff to see. Dork. Well, it's kind of my last day for an all-day affair. And we got straight to work. We got Chris over here stirring oil with a screwdriver.
Yep. Making a lifter soup.
delicious.
Good thing you're here because we don't know what we're doing.
Where does this timing thingy go? I don't. God, we're missing another accessory that it bolts to.
We're learning small block Chevy. That's, you know, fairly easy.
One way backwards at a time.
Well,
Fathers are laughing at us now.
yeah.
Sorry, Dad.
I'll let you down.
Sorry,
Let you down, Dad.
So yeah, we're starting to adjust the motor. Oil pan's on, sealed. This is part of the way on. That's installed.
Yeah, it's good.
Water pump's good.
Yeah.
But I think
Silly
our
puttied on and everything.
silly putty. That's what you used back in the day. These things ran on Coors Banquet. So I think our first order of business after we get this somewhat dressed up is to stab the trans on, mount it up, fit it in place. I already put the mounts on very loosely just to get an idea of where it should sit. I think what Chris and Scott brought up was the distributor might be our main clearance issue right here. If that's the problem, I'll start cutting that out and boxing it while these guys assemble the motor. Also, I'm a little worried about the trans, which he just walked off with, that the clutch fork is pretty far out. So we'll get this on the cherry picker and throw it in and see if it works. And if it doesn't, then we got modification to do. Motor's in. This actually fit a lot nicer than we expected to. Part of the problem we were worried about was the distributor coming up here, but it looks like we got plenty of clearance. And then the other one I was worried about was the clutch fork down there, and that's got plenty of room. The only problem we have is these power steering lines are a little bit too far, so we'll have to clearance that, but fits nice, sits really low. Scott's been messing with these lines for an hour and a half.
I had to punch myself in the face with this.
So yeah, for mock-up, this thing's good, but got the wrong clutch, or flywheel rather. Got the wrong flywheel, so we gotta go get a different flywheel. Good thing is it's a small block Chevy. We could probably go to a parts store right down the street and grab one. So we'll pull this back out and then make sure we get the right parts, assemble it, put it in, and then start putting all the fresh Holley parts on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at this thing. Well, I don't know what you dreamed up here, Scott, but it looks amazing.
It's turning out to be way bigger deal than it was originally.
Yeah, but it looks fantastic.
It's not a dream, it's a nightmare.
But we just went for a quick mock-up, made it look cool, get ourselves hyped up. Still just kind of running over some parts.
Still just working on morale.
We got morale.
Still just trying to get the morale
We got
up.
morale way up. I'm pumped, but trying to organize some stuff, find some more parts, and figure out the front end. Chris is trying to figure out what we want to do with the bash bar and stuff. It's looking real good. It's going to be an amazing machine. We already have the cage kit on the way from Rob Parsons, and Chris and I were talking about this radiator setup in the back. We'll figure that out a little bit later. But for right now, real pumped up. Grab a flap disc. All right, Scott and Chris are going to get some of the parts that we were missing, like a new clutch and just some random stuff here and there to get this motor bolted up for the final time. But in the meantime, while they're gone, I'm going to try and see if I can get the trans mount that was shipped to us to fit, or they came with this kit rather, to fit. If it doesn't, then I'll modify it while they're out, and then I'll just kind of keep plugging away at some things. So if I can get the trans mount to fit, I'll pull the motor back out, get it ready for them for when they come back. We can do the clutch and stuff real quickly, and then we'll put in all the push rods, rocker arms, all that stuff. And it should be the final time we put the motor in, and we'll be in a good spot. So good progress on a Saturday. So I've clearance the trans tunnel for the shifter, but we have this old mount, and this is from, I believe, a VQ setup, or like a CDO9, but we're gonna try and recycle it. Yeah, okay, so this was for a VQ S14. For a CDO9 made in here, but actually the urethane mount does fit, so that's good. I put that on, but this is way off, and it's not too bad actually, because I think I can cut this. This is excessively long, so I can cut this here and here, and then I'll just scoot this forward, re-weld it, and then try and bump this up a little bit. I think the trans has room to come down, but I want to make sure that everything is sitting level in the engine bay before I do that. So I'm going to pull this mount off, I'm going to chop this, move it forward, see if I can get it to sit nice, and then I'll designate a height, and we'll make sure that that works. So I will be able to recycle this mount, which is awesome because they don't have really any scrap metal here that I can work with to build something. I mean, I could maybe cut something apart and figure it out, but I think I should be able to reuse everything that we have. So just gonna get cutting and see what I can make out of this thing. Hey, the motor's in. And trans is mounted. Let's take it out.
Let's take it out. Pour some gas in the top of it.
Yeah, all right, well, it is mounted. I'm gonna cut this off, clean it up, make it look nice, but we gotta pull it out anyway, put the clutch on. Anyway, we gotta paint this diff, we gotta put the clutch in, flywheel on, and then the motor should be in for the final time. All right, let's pull this motor out.
It hurts.
You got a thing on your head, man.
Right here?
Yeah. Smart man. Okay, see ya.
Bye. I'm going this way.
The crazy car track? So to our current problem, we got the new clutch and flywheel. The flywheel's too big. It's rubbing. Won't clear the bell housing. So this T5 is something that Scott's dad gave him, and we were trying to make it work, but we got three Nissan nerds trying to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, this old Chevy stuff. We
Yeah.
were a little ambitious with the clutch diameter, so
Yeah.
you know, what can you say?
Turns out like the flywheel is a little bit too big, and also the pressure plate is hitting the actually we don't even know what the pressure plate's hitting because the flywheel's hitting
Right. Before any of it, yeah.
so everything's a little bit too big, trying to figure out, but the center diameter of the flywheel is okay, and then the other flywheel they have, this is too small, and then the holes are also, we can't machine it because these are wrong, but this size is correct. This is wrong. Now, the inside of that one is correct, The outside diameter is wrong. We don't know this, so we're trying to figure it out. And I called up John Chase, and John knows better than we do. And he told us to get a Muncie, but we don't have Muncie money here. So we're trying to figure out a way around it. Looking up some Biscayne parts. That was my interjection because I love Biscaynes, and it's a 6-cylinder and it'll probably fit.
They got it.
Who's got it?
O'Reilly's. They have 7 of them.
You figured it out?
So
Is it gonna work?
Dude.
We're gonna go.
Pumped. I'm pretty sure it's gonna work.
Okay.
I hope so.
64 Biscayne.
Well, it's the same part number.
Yes.
They don't even
What?
list anything for a 64 Biscayne. Looked up a 68 Camaro RS with the 3.8 liter inline 6. Same motor.
6-cylinder, not the V8.
Correct. Inline 6.
So it's got the big middle and the small outside.
You got it.
All right.
10.5 inch clutch with the larger center bore. So
We figured it out. Well,
we think
we think. We may have jumped the gun like we did 3 times.
3
already.
times now.
Yep. And
Let's
then,
take this one off so,
So
that
if
I can
anybody
clean it and
needs,
return it.
if anybody needs a clutch from whatever to whatever we've
No,
got.
we're
to-
returning this one now. Let's take it off and clean it.
Yeah, we're gonna clean these up. Go try the other clutch. Hopefully it works and we can stab this on. Be done with it. Today is the last day. Warning number 5 or 6 on Way of the South, but we had some struggles last night with the flywheel and clutch and trying to figure out how to make the T5 fit on this old 350. We know it's not the strongest trans. We know, you know, we could have found something better, but this was a free thing that we were trying to get working. And also, it's a really budget build. We don't want to go over it. We've already spent a lot. Scott's been just throwing some more stuff at it. I came in being a bad influence and talking him into more stuff. So today, I think we got it figured out. We figured it out last night on the way in. So we got the right flywheel and clutch setup that fit the disc. This should be a good one. I think the center bore was the issue. So the first one we had, this was too small and the bowl holes didn't line up. Everything else is correct. Now we have the bigger bore in the middle and this will clear. We're good. We can bolt this together, get it in the car and start assembling stuff. And this will be the final time that the motor goes in. So I'm pumped.
I'm
I
pumped.
figured it out. It works. It works. I figured
Oh, you did?
I put it on. I was too excited.
Nice.
Yeah, but it fits. Install it. Make sure everything works good. Yeah, we did it! Woo!
Victory.
I know it looks the same as it does yesterday because we just mocked it up, but it's actually all bolted in and it is ready to go. Just got some a few things on order. Got to figure out this alternator mount and then a few wiring things. It's already set at top dead center. We'll dump a little oil in it, but it's all good. It's ready to go. Just some parts on order, so that's all we're waiting for. Well, that's it for phase 1 of the Way of the South S14. We're gonna take this thing to Little Talladega. We're gonna go to side-by-side trails, and then we're gonna slam it back to the ground and go drifting. That's kind of the whole point of this build. So it's a really just fun thing. It's been sitting in Scott's other shop for like 5 years, 6 years. I don't even know how long, but we finally got it back. Motors in, done. So the next time we have a cage kit on the way from Rob Parsons. Stoked to put that in because all I have to do is weld it in. It just snaps together. And then we got a couple other little fab things we want to do. Put a stinger on the front of this thing so it looks a little bit more rally in case we hit some trees or whatever. You know, we want it to be prepared to take a hit. But, you know, fab heavy on the next one. And then we should get it running by then. And then after that, we're going to go straight to Little Talladega, maybe Grid Life. Where do you think we should go? We should take this all over, I think. if you guys enjoy this, all of this content that we've put up, support my friends. Support my friends that support me. Support Scott. Support Grip Royal. Support Mike. Support everybody on the whole Grip Royal team who had me out here. And support Chris and his new venture, Breakbeat Goods.
Yeah, and Breakbeat Auto Garage.
Breakbeat Auto Garage. Support these two. Go follow them. If you don't, buy their stuff. It's really cool. That's why we're friends.
Or if not, just come visit Dan when he takes this off-road car somewhere off-roading.